You know that feeling you get from a good haunted house story? That creaking floorboard, the shadow in the window, the sense that the building itself has dark secrets? It feels like these stories have been around forever, right? But what if I told you they haven't? They had to start somewhere. And believe me, the story of how it all started is just incredible. So let's get right into it. So where do these stories come from? I mean, when you picture a classic horror movie or book, what pops into your head? For most of us, it's something like this, right? A big, creepy, crumbling castle. We're talking about some really specific, really familiar ideas here. Like, you've got these ancient curses, the kind that doom a family for generations. And then there are the secret passages, always dusty, always hidden behind a painting or a giant bookshelf. And of course, you can't forget the ghosts themselves. The spirits of old aristocrats who just can't seem to move on. These are like the absolute building blocks of horror that we all just know. But here's the crazy part. What if I told you that pretty much all of this was cooked up by one guy? Yeah, no joke. The whole genre of Gothic horror, the blueprint for every haunted house story you've ever loved, it all points back to one single book from one guy way back in 1764. So who was this architect of terror? All right, let's meet him. His name was Horace Walpole. And this 18th century dude, maybe without even fully realizing it, kicked off a genre that would be scaring the heck out of us for centuries.
Now, don't get the wrong idea. Walpole wasn't just some guy cranking out scary stories in his basement. He was this incredibly smart, well-rounded intellectual, a writer, an art historian, even a politician. And get this, he was living during the Age of Enlightenment, a time when everyone was all about logic and reason and science. But while everybody else was looking to the future, Walpole, he was obsessed with the past, the dark, the mysterious, the supernatural parts of it. And that obsession, well, that's what made him a legend.
And that entire legacy really kicks off with one specific book. So let's do this. Let's break down the novel that literally started it all, The Castle of Otranto. Yep, this is the one. Dropped in 1764, and pretty much everyone agrees it is the very first Gothic novel. Seriously, before this book, there was nothing else like it. It was a total, complete game changer. And what's so cool is he basically created a recipe for it. It's all right here. You start with one creepy, fallen-apart castle. You mix in some supernatural stuff and a good old-fashioned family curse. Then you throw in a desperate, evil lord and a totally pure and good heroine. And you let the whole thing simmer in this atmosphere of non-stop terror and suspense. Sound familiar? Yeah, it really should. And people went wild for it. I mean, the impact was immediate. This mix of scary stuff, a little romance, and the supernatural, it just grabbed readers in a way nothing had before. It wasn't just a hit book. It became the template, the literal instruction manual that writers would use for generations to come. But here's the thing. Walpole was absolutely not a one-hit wonder. Not even close. The guy was a machine. His mind was just always going, digging into history, art, and drama with the exact same energy he brought to his big, spooky novel. Just look at this timeline. It really shows you what I'm talking about. In the same handful of years that he drops the genre-defining book, he's also publishing major works on art history and famous people. He was just fascinated by the past. Didn't matter if it was the lives of painters or the super dark secrets in a tragic play like The Mysterious Mother, which, by the way, dealt with some pretty shocking stuff for the 1700s. And this Gothic obsession, it wasn't just something he wrote about. The man lived it. He literally designed and built his own house, called Strawberry Hill, to be this incredible Gothic revival villa. It was like his own personal, real-life Castle of Otranto. He built the world he was writing about. I mean, the guy was just unstoppable. Outside of his stories, he was a serious historian, questioning what everyone thought they knew. His personal letters, they're now considered these amazing, funny windows into life back then. He was a huge art and antique collector, and he even went back to his own book, to Otranto, and added a new introduction that basically laid out the rules for the genre he had just accidentally invented. How cool is that? So, okay. After a life packed with so much different and influential stuff, what's the bottom line? What's his real legacy? What's the ghost of Horace Walpole that still lingers today? It's actually pretty simple. Every single time you watch a haunted house movie, or you read a thriller with a supernatural twist, or even play a survival horror game, You're basically hanging out with the ghost of Horace Walpole. That recipe he came up with, the creepy old building, the deep dark family secret, the ghostly threat, that's not just a pert of horror. It is the DNA of modern horror. He wrote the rulebook for the stuff that still gives us nightmares today. And that really just leaves us with one last question to chew on. Think about all the greats, Stephen King, Shirley Jackson. Think about the classics, like Dracula or The Haunting of Hill House. Now think about your own favorite scary stories. Which ones do you now realize are actually haunted by Horace Walpole?